Alrighty, hi everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Laura and here I talk about mental health, minimalism, lifestyle stuff in general. My husband and I are trying to have a baby. I'm waiting to be diagnosed with ADHD. There's just a lot going on here. It's a fun time. Another thing about me, as you may hear from my accent, is that I am a Kiwi. I am a New Zealander and we are currently living in New Zealand. And I wanted to talk a little bit about that because I hear from a lot of people overseas about how interested they are in New Zealand, how much they'd love to visit, or they think they'd love to live here and all of that. And the thing is that New Zealand is a really great place in a lot of ways, but it's not all sunshine and roses. So today I wanted to talk a little bit about some maybe misconceptions or maybe true things about New Zealand. I kind of want to just go through them and maybe try debunk some assumptions or maybe try confirm some assumptions that you have about little old New Zealand. So let's get into it. Okay, so assumption number one, New Zealand is clean and green. I think that this clean green image of New Zealand is it's not totally unfounded, but I think that it's more of a byproduct of New Zealand being a younger country, that we've had less time to kind of screw things up. That might sound bad, but I feel that we are, compared to other countries, missing a lot of the systems and infrastructure and laws and procedures that should be in place to make sure that we are clean and green and that we stay clean and green. I actually looked into this a lot when I was doing my honours thesis because I was looking at sustainable food production in New Zealand, and a lot of the stuff that makes us less clean and green is related to food production. We produce a lot of food in this country, we export a lot of food, and that's not the cleanest industries, if we're being honest here. So it's a little bit unfortunate, but yeah, as we do a lot of that primary industry based stuff, it just doesn't lend itself to being very clean and green unless you're super regulated and strict about it, which we are not compared to other countries. People may still feel that we have too much regulation here, but compared to other places, it's really not that much. Again, in terms of the infrastructure, the sewerage system here in Auckland, when there's a lot of rain, and I don't mean like completely torrential flood level, I mean every few weeks or something, when there's a lot of rain, the sewers will overflow into the ocean. That's not very clean and green. So some things are really awesome, and when you go to places like Milford Sound and all of that, yeah, it's great, but not everywhere. I'm gonna say that, yeah. Okay, second thing about New Zealand is that there is less inequality here. I would again say kind of yes and no. So yes, on the global measurable scales, we are definitely, and this is provable, we definitely have less inequality. That's what I was trying to say. We definitely have less inequality than some other places that you may think of. However, there are other things that are harder to measure consistently on a global scale. Because if we think about it, if we're wanting to compare inequality between countries, we need to measure those same things in those different countries. So New Zealand, for example, having a native population of people, the Māori people, and other ethnic minorities that are inbuilt into our environment is different to somewhere like Italy, for example, right? Where the Italian people are a bit more homogenous in terms of that, or the people who are disadvantaged are more migrants coming in, whereas in New Zealand it's people who've been here longer than people like me that are disadvantaged, not just migrants. It creates a different landscape when you're looking at inequality, and that becomes hard to compare between countries on. So it's kind of a thing that on the measurable stuff, yes, we probably are doing pretty well. And on stuff that's harder to measure, we're definitely not. We do still have other areas that we can measure that we definitely suck at. So health inequality between Māori and Pacifica people compared to Pākehā or white people and Asian people generally, there is a gap there. I work in healthcare, I know that this exists. Also, we have really high rates of RSV virus in this country, like third world levels, and so we end up with a lot of kids with heart damage at a young age, which is like crazy. We have really high rates of measles in this country, and then hospitalizations because of that as well. So again, there's a lot of different things here and there. I would also say another one that pops to mind is that housing in New Zealand is treated much more like a commodity than it actually is like a thing that provides people with safety and comfort and a level of health and well-being. The tax laws are just set up to support that. It's not that all the landlords are just terrible people, it's that they're incentivized to do that anyway. Don't get me started on tax law, which is not my specialty, but I get interested in it, which is so random. Comment down below if you're also interested in tax law and how it affects inequality. But it means that if you own your home in New Zealand, which we do, we are extremely lucky, you are much more likely to live in like a safe, healthy, mold-free, damp-free, warm house than if you are renting. You are much more likely to be dealing with damp and mold and other things that can severely impact your health and well-being. And so the inequality that's sort of built into other systems like that, you know, it's a big deal. So some things are really good. Like I think that in terms of equality for women and equality for people of different races and equality for people of different sexual orientations or gender identities, I think that we do pretty well, but other things not so much. So it's a mixed bag, and that's good to remember. Okay, the third thing is that the cost of living is high in New Zealand. Yes. Short answer, yes. This is fairly measurable, unlike the inequality piece, which is a little bit more nuanced. Cost of living, if you look at it compared with other countries on a global scale, it is expensive here, okay? I could try explain the reasons why. My thinking is that because everything's made in other countries and they have to ship it here, it then costs more. We can't get into the nuance of it, but it is more expensive to live here than a lot of places, or like more than you would expect it to be. So like renting here is at least as expensive. Well, it's about as expensive as renting in like Vancouver or London or another like really competitive housing market, which seems crazy for what you get. It's kind of like a, you know, you get so much convenience being in those places, and then here it's like still a bit inconvenient, but you're still paying it through the roof. So I don't know, but yeah, if you've heard the cost of living is high, it is. It's still like doable, but it's not going to be easy. Do what you will with that. The fourth misconception, I'm going to call this one a misconception because I think it is that taxes are really high here. I would say, and I did a little research on this, but they are pretty comparable with a lot of similar countries. So if you look like here versus Canada or versus Australia or versus Germany, it's all pretty similar. Like there'll be a little bit of variation. But we get a lot of good stuff for the money that we pay. Like I am very much pro taxes. Comment down below if you're also pro taxes. Yeah. Like, do I get that there's, you know, governmental waste and stuff that works terribly and all of that? Yeah, that's why I'm not in public health, because it would drive me insane as to how much money gets wasted anyway. But generally, I am pro paying taxes personally, because then we get good stuff for it, and we actually do. So the healthcare that we get is very decent. We still have to like pay to go to the doctor, but it's not exorbitant. And like if I was diagnosed with cancer tomorrow, all of that would be taken care of basically. So it is really good in that sense. We also have ACC, which is accident compensation cover. I want to say I should know this, but we just really love acronyms here. Here in Australia, we just love shortening stuff. ACC, done. But anyway, that is something that we pay into so that if I were hit by a car, I was going to say tomorrow, no, I've already had that, I got knocked off my bike, they will pay for my medical care, they'll pay for me being off work and all of that stuff, which just stops this giant industry of everyone suing each other left and right. However, the person who knocked me off my bike, they were still charged with careless driving causing injury. They did still have to make a payment to me, but it was like $1,000, not like $100,000, you know? And they were still charged with that. So we kind of try handle it a little bit more sensibly, which is that accidents happen that are either self-inflicted or inflicted by others accidentally, negligently, whatever. Let's just get that taken care of. Let's get everyone looked after, and then let the police take care of if you want to charge someone for that. So I think that it works really well, and I am happy paying into that. It means that I know that myself and people that I care about are going to be well taken care of, and an accident that was either caused by them or someone else or a freak of nature is not going to like completely ruin their lives. It also means that like people who are here on work visas and all of that, and they're paying into that system, like if they fall over or their kid falls over, they're going to be taken care of. They can go to the hospital, they can get treatment, they can get help with all of that. I like that. I like living in a country that's like that. So the tax is maybe a bit higher than places like the States or other places where there's less kind of social safety net or socialized medicine, but I'm happy with it. I think that it is a good system overall, and so yeah, I don't think that the taxes are like that high for what you actually get from it. All right, the fifth misconception is that New Zealand is well prepared for natural disasters. Do we have all the billionaires buying up places here in case of nuclear war? Yes. However, for every single other natural disaster, except for those people in their bunkers, we're not well prepared for natural disasters here in New Zealand. Like I said before about when we have a lot of rain here in Auckland and the sewers overflow, that's just like one aspect of it. We have a lot of parts of this country that are like, there is one way in to get there and then that same way out. So we've had instances in the last few years with big rains a lot of the time that then cause slips and floods, and then whole communities are inaccessible for weeks at a time. There's been a lot of things in recent memory that have like completely upended the country. It's felt like New Zealand is, yeah, we're not well prepared. If nuclear war broke out on the other side of the world, we're in a good position for that. But anything that like happens here, we're not well prepared for. We do not have the systems and infrastructure in place to properly cope with that. It's kind of a side effect of being like a smaller country and like the landscape that we do deal with. It's lots of mountains and rocky terrain. It's hard to just like build a road or a railway through that. But yeah, it is something to be aware of, that particularly if you were someone who moved to like a more remote part of New Zealand, like if something natural disaster wise happened, yeah, you could be on your own for a few weeks. So I don't know, if you like living in a bunker, you'll do great. All right, and the sixth misconception, or which way is it true, is it false, is that New Zealand has a good work-life balance. I would say overall it is easier to have a good work-life balance in New Zealand. Now I have worked like smaller jobs overseas. My main working life has only been in New Zealand, but just generally like the rhetoric and the attitudes and the assumptions that I see overseas compared with New Zealand, it does feel like we are doing more to prioritize people's well-being here than in other parts of the world. You know, like the whole staying till 6, 7, 8 p.m. People would get concerned and like grumpy with you pretty quickly here if that was happening. I also think that we have some decent labor laws around like it is an employer's responsibility to take care of your health and safety and well-being. And so if they know that you are staying late consistently, wearing yourself down, they need to take responsibility for that and find out what's going on there. So yeah, I think that it means that you're more likely to have an employer that really promotes your well-being and your work-life balance and all of that here in New Zealand, which I really appreciate, you know, for me, but also for the people around me. I think that that's important. I will say that if you are living around like the bigger cities and you're needing to commute into the office and all of that, or I suppose if you're living in bigger cities and, I mean, if you have to commute in general, like if you have a manufacturing job, you still have to commute. I need to remember not everyone works in offices like me. But like generally what I'm trying to say is that if you have to drive, sorry, let me take that back. If you have to physically get yourself to a place and you live in a bigger city, it's a bit of a show. Like driving is difficult, taking public transport is difficult. Like your boss might not expect you to be in the office for 10 hours or whatever. They might only expect you to be in the office 7.5, 8 hours, but the commute either way can be really tedious and frustrating and upsetting. I've had multiple times where I'm just standing aimlessly at the train station for an extra half hour because trains are just cancelled and delayed with no explanation, and then it does show up and then you cram on with every other person who's expected there to be a train every 10 minutes and there's been one in 40 minutes, and it's horrible. It's really horrible. And then you start to learn that you cannot rely on public transport and you have to leave even earlier and all of this, and it does just eat into your like personal time, into your work-life balance situation. So yeah, I would keep that in mind. Also, public service announcement, if you are flying into Auckland from a city overseas, there is no train. You know how you like fly to a place overseas and then you're like, cool, where's the train from the airport to the main center of the city? And you just have that in like every other part of the world. Nope, doesn't exist here. There is a very expensive bus, or if there's more than one person, just take an Uber. Just take an Uber. It's so much cheaper and easier. Maybe I should be sponsored by Uber. If you're in New Zealand, take an Uber instead of public transport because it sucks. Anyway, so thank you so much for joining me today, guys. I hope that this maybe answered some of your little questions and little thoughts that you had about New Zealand. Obviously, if you have anything else that you want me to talk about or kind of discover and discuss and whatever related to New Zealand or to Auckland specifically, please let me know down below, because I would love to hear from you guys what you're kind of wondering about. Because I mean, I wonder about a lot of things, as we've outlined in this video. My brain's all over the place, but let me know what you guys are wondering about. And yeah, I will see you again soon. I have so many fun ideas for videos, but I'm just not finding time to record them right now, and I'm getting less and less daylight. Like, I am recording this just before the sun goes down, and then I need to quickly make dinner. Ugh, it's a tough time. I know that the Northern Hemisphere is now in spring, and I'm so happy for y'all, but it is autumn here, and I'm starting to feel it. So anyway, I hope you guys are having an awesome week. I will see you again soon. Take care, and yeah, okay, bye.